Work session now underway. First one, 33 Plant Avenue. New addition and deck. Any comments from the board on this one?
I was wondering if there's plans to close off that area below the new deck and screen porch. And then also on the south elevation, I wouldn't mind if those 3 windows with the diamond grill were a little bit bigger, but they're okay as is. I don't know if they'd be open to making them larger. Perhaps we could discuss that.
No, I think they matched that one. There's only one.
Yeah.
I could make them doubles.
Yeah, larger in some dimension. Yeah, that would be nice.
Like in that house. That might be kind of interesting.
Right, anything else?
Nope.
We will discuss plant, and that one is a public hearing as well. Next, we have a resubmittal of 447 Landscape Court. This was just for the FAR approval.
Yeah, I don't recall ever seeing a FAR submittal where it was just calculations without some sort of proposed elevation. Because how can we judge whether the size and massing fits into the context without knowing what the proposed project is?
So personally, it's a new house, so my vote is no. The house is big enough. It's not like it's some little house without and so I don't agree with increasing it at all.
Yeah,
For a new house. It would be one thing if it were, an existing home and they want to just add this so the kitchen is modernized. That's not it's just a brand new house and they just want more square footage. So sorry, they can follow the rules like everybody else.
I'm of the same mindset. I don't understand why the request is being made. Like, what is the challenge that you can't meet the code, I guess would be my question.
Yeah, and I guess I don't see that there could be a chance. I just build a
Right.
smaller house.
Yeah.
It's not, that's not, they knew the situation when they bought the property.
Mhm. Agreed.
All right. We can discuss that one. Next, we have 335 Southside Avenue, new construction. Comment from the board.
I have a few comments on this one. The front gable where the material is stone, it doesn't look like there's an overhang at that front gable end of the roof. And I thought it might be nice to have an overhang there so that the roof overhang is consistent throughout. There's a window in the mudroom shown in elevation, but not in plan. So just wanted to clarify that. The window heads are not matching the door head at the rear. And that's the same for the garage. I didn't know if we wanted to just align all the heads of all openings. And then I also want to discuss the garage placement right now. You come in the driveway and then you turn into the garage. And I thought it might be more, I'm just curious why the garage is not just set straight off the driveway. It looks like we're barely meeting the 22-foot turnaround requirement for the garage as it's shown now, so. Seems like if it were straight on, it would be a little bit more functional.
I had noticed another discrepancy on the plan. On the west elevation on the flex space, the window is shown as about 5 feet wide on the elevation where the floor plan shows it as 9 feet wide. And I was wondering what was intended there. And I just thinking that perhaps the front elevation could benefit from some simplification or organization. It seems a little bit choppy, especially the front porch roof with the way it kind of, where it climbs and then hits the one setback and then the other as far as the front facade. I think that's going to make it kind of makes for an awkward shaped roof. Maybe if they were to go with a hip, or excuse me, with a shed style roof rather than a hip, it would look a little more simplified. And, you know, I don't know that the kind of wood headers on the brick, it just seems like there's too much trying to be mixed up into a small elevation. And maybe there could be some simplification that could be done. And it really, when you walk into that nice central column space headed toward the entry, and what you walk into first is the corner of a brick wall. And then the door is kind of off-centered on that symmetrical entry. And I'm just wondering if the porch size and configuration could be rethought a little. So what you're framing is the front door and you have a straight walk to it rather than having to jog around the corner. So just, you know, a few kind of organizational elements, I think would make it look like a more planned rather than haphazard.
I think this is supposed to be a preliminary submittal, right? New homes preliminary.
I had a question about that too, because usually we see them as preliminary and I don't recall ever seeing this one before.
No, it's
So
Typically, that is the case. Additional comments on 335 South Side?
Were there comments about the FAR at all on this one?
That was the previous one.
447,
That's the previous one, okay.
Yeah.
yeah.
Just visually, it looks like it's like it was stuffed a lot. I didn't know if we're
Yes.
in that, within the 0.38 or whatever it is.
Good question.
In general, it would be nice if the house blended into the neighborhood more.
Yeah.
But
There seems to be something about that elevation that's just off balance. As far as,
like, it's not drawn that way. Well, I mean, it's not drawn balanced, but the elevations like that. It just feels something's funny.
yeah, that, to me, on the front elevation, having that tall brick element, it just kind of pushes all the way to this side. Yeah, so it just,
That up.
yeah, it seems to me if there were some simplified forms and maybe rethinking some of the materials, like losing the brick headers and recentering the entry on the porch columns on that front door, I think that would go a long way to help kind of cleaning it up and making it more organized and balanced. I mean, asymmetry is fine, but it needs to have balance to it.
Well, I actually appreciate that the elevations are in color so you can see the lopsidedness, because if it was a white and black elevation, you wouldn't necessarily see the tilting of the of the, you know. Yeah, right.
A little comment on that one, the elevations of the neighboring houses are driving this house into the ground. It's based on the averages, but the surrounding houses are slabs. So this one it's not a slab house, it's a two-story traditional house. So that's what looks off. There's no base. You see how flat it is?
Oh, that's what we're saying.
He's kind of stuck with that, right?
Hmm.
That's
It's also,
Yeah, for me, the height above grade is not so much as an issue as the balance in the organization, for me personally.
All right. Move on to 315 West Jackson Road, detached garage. Comment from the board on this one?
My only comment was in regards to that front shed piece. I just felt like maybe there's a little bit too much going on for that, to have the roof pop up and the arched window. Maybe that could just be simplified.
even not well timed.
Kind of looks like a dollhouse or something in the front.
I just have one minor suggestion, and it's a suggestion only. On the east elevation of the detached garage, where we have the open timber frame at the gable, the material above that, if it could be like a smooth hardy rather than a siding, I think it would look more like half timber construction rather than, the siding above it. And that's a minor consideration on those gables. Other than that, I think it's a really nice project.
Yeah, that'd be easier to construct too, because it's hard to cut that vinyl or horizontal siding with that scissor truss.
Anything else? Last one is, sorry, not the last one, 512 Webster Path Court Swimming Pool. This one,
Yeah,
I
I mean,
I wasn't sure that I had any.
Didn't see any modifications to the building.
Yeah.
So,
Out of the ground.
yeah.
Right. It's a, they dug a hole. and put water.
Yeah,
Out of paving,
Yeah.
that's okay.
the agenda says,
I don't think it is.
yeah, the agenda mentions swimming pool and pool deck, but I wasn't quite sure why we were reviewing this. I didn't know if a deck was gonna be out of grade or something,
No,
or,
I didn't see any.
Seems like the survey and the site plan are different. So I think there are site improvements, an outdoor room maybe. We just don't have any drawings of it.
Feels like it's all under the plan.
Yeah.
The only one, but-
No, I was like, what am I?
I'm like, where-
Yeah, are there any vertical site improvements on that one, Jim? That we're missing? I didn't, I don't know if anyone. I
Do
didn't
we
see it.
approve? Do we approve pools?
This would be the first time.
Yeah.
You don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
You don't do pre-approval.
I'll run down and double check, so, in case, make sure I'm not missing something.
Okay. I mean, yeah.
when I'm looking at sheet 3 of 9, it looks like there's dimensions on some sort of new deck structure there, but then we don't have any plans of that.
Right.
And there was some note about that the deck was to be by a different contractor. So I don't know, what happened there. If for some reason we didn't get the full submittal, or the other contractor didn't get their drawings in or something.
The deck is there on the aerial view.
Hmm.
It's a different shape though, isn't it? It looks like,
That's existing. So
it looks like,
they've got a wood deck.
yeah, but it's a different config. If you look at 2 of 9, that shows a deck with a different configuration that's
Yeah.
on what is on 3 of 9.
Yeah,
So
the deck
it looks like
itself.
there's something changing there, but we don't have plans of it.
yeah, if it is the deck.
Yeah, that new
Ah.
deck area,
Okay.
the little area, the little tiny.
Okay.
deck. Yeah.
We'll talk with that applicant.
See, the problem is we don't have any drawings.
Right, I mean, I think we'll just discuss it with the
Yeah,
applicant.
and
If it is the deck, then there needs to be drawings of the deck. All right. Last one is 200 Watson Court, new addition. Comments from the board?
No comments?
I don't have any comments.
I had no comment.
Yeah, oh, I didn't.
Any, anyone else on that one? If not, we can.
Nope.
All right. We can move the 200 Watson Court project to pre-approval. 12 East Glendale has been pulled for this evening, so with that, we can take a pause on the work session. The official meeting will start at 5:30. All right, welcome everyone to the Architectural Review Board meeting. We finished the work session. The official meeting is now underway. Introduce Jim Bailey and Tacoa Bell with the city, Harold Dunkey, Tracy Collins, David Yates, Angela Thompson, and myself, Bob Buckman, all volunteer architects sitting on the board. First item of business is review of meeting minutes from April 3rd, and I think 4 of us are here. So with that, may I ask for a motion?
I do have one update on item 8, 253 Papin. Right before the motion was made, we agreed on a list of changes, and I'm not sure I read one into the motion because it doesn't appear here. There was an option to add windows on the east elevation on either side of the fireplace, and I'm positive that was on our agreement list, but it doesn't appear here, and I think it's because I might not have said it, but I don't want the applicant to go, well, I thought it was okay if we had our windows. So that's the only comment I have.
Okay. All right, so with that additional note to item 8, then may I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the April 3 meeting minutes with the correction on item 8 as noted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Meeting minutes are approved as noted. At this point, when we, I have one pre-approval as well, sorry. 200 Watson Court. May I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve 200 Watson Court as submitted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye, opposed, All right, so if you're here for 200 Watson Court, your project has been approved. Good evening. All right, at this point, if we call your project, if you're here in person, we ask that you come up and introduce yourself with the microphone and we'll discuss your project. If you're on Zoom, raise your Zoom hand and PICOA will add you to the discussion. First project is 33 Plant Avenue, new addition and deck.
Hello, I'm Nathan Rao. I'm the architect for the project.
Hello.
Hello. It's two-story rear addition with the screen porch and deck off the back. It's on the kind of an old school Tudor house. We were matching the half timbering and trying to keep it as close to the original as possible in a lot of ways.
Nathan, are there any plans to close off the area below the deck?
What's that?
To
Below?
close off the area below the deck?
It's on the rear, so we didn't put our typical detail on it, but we could.
I think that it would just make it look more finished and more grounded if it were closed off with some sort of material that's compatible with the design and the other materials.
Yes. Yeah, we have a vertical lattice detail that we've used on the older homes. It's probably fitting for that.
I think that would be very nice. Yeah.
All right, and then David, you had some questions.
Yeah. Hey, hello, hi. The first comment is about the existing windowsill heights on the is it the side and the rear seem to be lower than the front of the home. And I was curious if those could be raised, and the reasoning for mine would be if there's that existing like the quatrefoil design under the windows on the front of the home. There's like the
Right.
I don't know what we call that. But if those could be considered for under the windows, at least where they face the street and are viewable from the street. Like I'm thinking like the windows off of on the east elevation, that new one up top.
Yes, the one on the front elevation, we could do that little,
I'm not sure what you call it.
yeah, no, I was just trying to figure that it's not really a diamond shape, but yeah. I know the detail you're speaking of, but that would be a good candidate for it. The other windows, we stretched just to make sure we were getting egress sizes on them. And so
Okay.
I'm reluctant to do too much. And then I'm not sure how we would get that square shape, and then it starts to become weird if
Understood.
we don't keep the square shape. So that would be my only concern in doing that. But I think that front one's a good candidate for it. Because that's kind of an accessory window.
Is that front one in the same plane as the main?
No, it's set back a decent amount. 10 feet or so from the main face of the house.
Oh, I see it. Okay. It's got it. Yeah. Yeah. But that'd look great in my opinion. What else I said? Oh, and on the rear porch addition, you had shown the columns to be stucco. And I was wondering if it might be more appropriate if the columns were the dark color of the heavy timber / half timber.
The reason we didn't is we were trying to follow the rule that everything below the belt line was stucco on the main house.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
But we would be happy to do that. I mean, kind of in the back, we're already we're not as pure on the back anymore anyway.
Just
Yeah, to do those as timbers, yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's a
Yeah.
suggestion on our part. Maybe we poll the committee, or yeah, I'm just it's an idea.
No, not opposed to either way.
I think that would look a little bit better because the stucco seems like it wants to be more substantial.
Hmm.
I feel like those columns are kind of skinny for a stucco finish.
Or also the stucco is always bound by something, and here they would be four corners of white corner versus a board.
Because it's not real.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be kind of interesting to have them be the timbers, like it adds a different element to, because the elevation's getting kind of long. So it helps break it up.
Yes, wouldn't be opposed to that.
And my last comment is not necessarily, I'm kind of I'm kind of on the fence about it. Just the existing timber, is very close together with maybe a 2 foot between
Mhm.
its timbers, and it gets wider as you go to around the side of the house. Didn't know if you consider doing more timbers in a spacing that matches more of the main new house or the existing house, or I'm not sure if I have a real strong opinion towards that, but just a thought. Or if that messes with the window spacing and all that, it might be a.
I mean, we could look to do that. I'm trying to figure out how we want to compose it. Part of it, I think it might I'm afraid it would get busy, but we were trying to let it stretch out a little bit. The back especially is hard to,
Yeah.
but so I'd call it the south side.
I have a question on the timbers. Are you going to mimic what's there?
Yeah, we've worked with, the builder we're working with. has
So
done
they're not
that.
straight,
Yeah, has done that stucco with the half timbering before.
but the diagonals are that
Right.
kind
You said Hampton break. Is that what that's called? The curve?
No,
Oh.
I'm not sure what I said.
Oh,
What you heard, yeah.
I thought you said Hampton break. I
No.
was like, that sounds good.
No. Yeah, maybe we should name it that, right?
Right.
I don't know if it has a name, but
Say your comment again?
I'm sorry.
What was your,
Oh, just about the curve of those diagonal ones. They're not straight.
oh,
They're not truly diagonal.
oh, right.
Because I don't mind some variation to it because it does distinguish that you're making an addition to the house.
Yeah.
Yet if you're gonna put the diagonals, it
Do,
seems like
okay, do a
they,
march, yeah.
seems like they should maybe
Yeah, okay.
do a little of that. I don't know how much trouble it's not that big a deal.
I'm good friends with the builder. I can make him do it.
And just one other item, and this is just a suggestion. See if you'd be open to it. On the south side elevation, we have the 3 small windows with the diamond grills. Would you be open to making those a little bit larger?
In plan, they would work. So off the top of my head, no, no, we wouldn't object to that. And then I guess the question it begs is, we have another similar one on the north elevation. We were trying to we're trying to nod towards the similar window that's on the very front.
I see that. I do, and I appreciate that. Yeah, I just looking at that elevation, my first thought was, oh, it'd be nice if those windows were a little bigger, but it's not anything that's, I certainly wouldn't vote against it the way it
Okay.
is. And if you'd like, we could maybe put it as an option.
That'd
for
be
you to-
perfect. Yeah, we can ask the homeowner if they would want it.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
You could make it a pair.
What's it?
You could make a pair of the same exact size, make it like a little casement, right? For one of those spots. I don't know. That would
Yeah.
depend if they wanted it big, like.
Yeah, I mean, that would
Little
be a good solution to keep the actual window the same size as the existing, but then just pair it up to make it larger.
Mhm.
Right, well,
Yeah, that would work.
I think, a lot of the discussion in my opinion is, the houses, the detailing is similar, but does not match, which I think, works and it you wanted to tweak some of these things, we can add them. I think really most of the list seems like an option for
Mhm.
you and your clients, in my opinion. I do agree, though. I think the stucco columns would look more appropriate as wood. So, but I would still leave it as an option myself. I don't know how everyone feels about this, but, so when we make a motion on this one, we can just read all of those in, I think, and then it gives you the opportunity to tweak those windows, the spacing on the half timbering and the materiality of the columns.
Right.
Um,
And I do think that
but the infill on the deck is
Yeah.
something I think
Yes.
that I was
Yeah.
gonna say that
It
would
would
probably be the
require-
only thing
yeah.
we would want to make a requirement. Okay, so public hearing, is there anyone else present or online that wants to make a comment about 33 Plant Avenue? And then seeing no one, may I have a motion on 33 Plant from Carol?
I was gonna say, and the drum roll, please.
You've been voluntold.
Okay, yes. All right. So everybody kind of check your list to make
Yep.
sure that I'm including everything. Okay. I'll make a motion to approve number 33 Plant Avenue with the understanding that the area below the new deck and porch will be closed off with vertical lattice. That on the front window of the new addition, there's an option for a quatrefoil design to be added in the half timber that matches the existing front elevation. The columns on the new addition will be timber. And there's an option for the 3 diamond grilled windows on the south elevation to be made larger or to be double windows. And there is an option to revise the half timber spacing on the new addition to be similar to the existing home.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? All right, Nathan, you're approved as noted.
All right, very good. Thank you. Thank you.
Good night. Next, we have 447 Landscape Court FAR approval. FAR.
I have one person on Zoom.
Hello, I'm Nathan Farrow, representing Donna Box Architecture.
Nathan,
Good evening.
good evening. So we didn't see a plan or a elevation. Nor indication of any hardship to request a FAR. I'm not sure if that's something that was.
Well, I feel like something may have slipped through the cracks here. Is it Joel? Is that correct? Is that the correct person?
Zoning.
This
yeah.
this was already approved through ARB, and I brought it to the attention that we were requesting a larger FAR approval. And I think at that meeting, you all said that, you would go back and talk to whomever. I guess it's Joel and him. And I know Pintrex Development have been talking a lot back and forth. And somehow Tuesday, it got brought to my attention that this was back on the ARB docket. And somebody asked if I would join the Zoom, and I said, sure. So I don't know of any additional paperwork that was requested or submittal application that was needed. So I do apologize for that.
Nathan, typically we would need to see what's proposed so we can see if the size and the massing are compatible with the surroundings. So when we just have, math, we really can't adequately review the request.
Right, and I guess in this case, you know, if you're saying this was already approved, that would typically be in our review. It's not this time.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm just a little confused how it got this far without having the proper documentation in front of you guys. So,
Yeah.
The
Well, that's
way,
the responsibility of the people submitting to say that you're not doing what you're not following proper zoning or rules or whatnot. You didn't
But-
submit that to begin with? Or,
well, what I'm saying is that I don't think we actually submitted anything. I think somehow Joel or somebody within the city threw this back on the docket for tonight's meeting.
when this home was being reviewed, I believe at least last session, the session before last, we reviewed it for the architecture alone, and then somehow in the conversation for review, we asked if this had gone through zoning and the FAR review. And I don't know who was presenting, if it was Donna or someone else, but they said, well, we'll look into that. And that's why I think it's on today's docket. But then there are no plans or elevations with the submission, so we can't see what's being proposed.
Okay. Well, that's fine. We'll have to follow the procedures here then.
Right, so I think we can just table this and then, we'll let the city, yourself and the city, compile
Yeah.
the house design with the FAR request, I think, in this case.
Is this something that needs to go back before the board again, or is there some type of staff approval that we can keep this ball rolling rather than waiting for the next meeting?
you should have known to begin with that it didn't follow zoning.
Yeah, I mean, I would say for this board to vote on it, we would need to have the whole package together to review.
And
Okay.
along
fine.
with the background, that would be helpful.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I think there was just some internal communication there that got missed somehow. So I'll make a phone call tomorrow and try and get this all straightened out for you guys. Okay.
Okay.
All right,
Thanks, Nathan.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
good night. So that will table, which brings us to 335 Southside Avenue. This is a new constructed home. Anyone present for that? 335 Southside. Oh, there you are. Yes. I was like, I recognize this.
So this is a tear down in a new two-story home with detached garage.
Can I ask if this is for an individual or homeowner, or is this for a builder?
It's a spec. It's a spec house.
It
for
is.
a client.
So was any, it's fairly different than the surrounding homes. Was any thought given to make it blend into the neighborhood a little bit more?
Honestly, not a lot. There wasn't a lot of context. I mean, there was some of the old, some of the slab on grade modern ones that would be like the only context, but a lot of it gets kind of mishmash as you go west and then south.
But they
Gotcha,
blend
gotcha.
together a lot more than this blends with them. I guess is what, I guess I'm just wondering what, I understand that we build within the parameters of what's allowed. but
Right.
I was just curious because it would be nice.
And my comment would be basically in light of the last conversation we had just a minute ago with the submittal. Just look at the site plan, the house does seem crowding and large of the site. Just want to make sure that you're all within the FAR.
Yes.
Okay.
We submitted everything. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, and then we've been through the ringer on this one too, to just even get in front of you guys. So for whatever that's worth, but. And then I think Jim mentioned in the work session that we're still fighting the finished floor elevation issue. So.
Was there a preliminary submittal made on this before it was? Because usually they recommend having a preliminary submittal for feedback before the plans go forward for an actual submittal. Did you guys have a preliminary?
I'm not sure how to answer that. Yeah, we submitted this in January. And it's been languishing in the zoning office since then.
Okay, so you've been working out zoning things or waiting for
No, we
review?
needed to go through Historic Preservation Commission for the demo permit.
Right,
And then after that, we thought we were going to be on the March hearing. We weren't for some reason. And then we got last minute comments before the last hearing and answered them and missed the deadline. And
okay.
then now we're chasing this finished floor elevation thing. So I didn't want to take it off the agenda because it's been 4 months to get here.
Yeah, I understand the
So-
timeframe. Yeah, I just usually we see things as
I
a
had
preliminary.
sniffed around about that and wasn't getting a lot of communication back.
Okay, I understand. I was just wanted to verify because I didn't think we had seen this before.
Right.
Okay.
Mhm.
I have a couple of questions on the west elevation, the flex space. The plan shows that those windows are 9 feet wide, but the elevation shows that they're 5 feet wide. So, could you clarify which we're going for?
Say that again on the,
On the west elevation, the windows into the flex space. It's like kind of like dining room flex space.
oh,
kind of.
gotcha.
Yeah, if you look at the plan shows those windows are 9 feet wide, but when you look at the elevation, they're closer to 5 feet wide.
Correct. Yes, the elevation would be correct. We were trying to get triple windows there that we could furnish underneath. So yeah, so the plan's not accurate.
Okay. And then on the rear elevation, there shows a window into the mudroom that's not shown on the plan.
Yes, yeah.
So is that,
Got it circled on my plan too.
okay, so that window is in the project?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And then on the front elevation, I just really feel like this could benefit from some simplification. It seems like we have an awful lot of different angles, going in different ways. We have the hip roof, and then we've got horizontal siding and vertical siding and brick, and then the wood headers on the brick areas. It just seems like an awful lot going on a fairly small elevation. And, I'm thinking that instead of a hip on the front porch, because there's no hips anywhere else on the project, to just go ahead and go with a more shed style roof to kind of take some of those angles out. That might be helpful. And then also something to kind of bring some more cohesion with the windows in the sided area and the windows in the brick. Maybe like eliminating those wood headers at the brick area would help cure the too many materials. Potentially, I'm just kind of throwing out some suggestions that I think would help kind of bring things together. And also, just like looking at the front elevation, it looks like those headers look pretty tight to the porch ceiling. So getting rid of those headers might relieve some of that. And then also with the column spacing on the front porch, we're walking toward this nice symmetrical, centrally located walkway. And what we walk into first is a corner of a brick wall that's pretty close to where you step onto the porch. And the front door with that side light really kind of appears off center in that area. I mean, maybe if even the side light was brought in a little bit, so it wouldn't, that column wouldn't be cutting off that part of the entry. Maybe some of those kind of changes would make things look a little more organized. And simplified because it is a fairly small elevation. Was there anything in particular that was driving adding brick to the house?
The owner really liked the brick, whatever
Okay.
the Sioux City masonry brick.
Yeah.
So we tried to work with that as kind of a cooler color palette.
I guess for me, looking at it, it just, the tall brick element just on this one side, it just kind of doesn't quite balance with the other side. So I was wondering if there was any consideration to just simplifying the material selection there somehow.
Okay.
But the owner is a builder.
Yes.
It's a spec home,
client, yeah.
so it's
Right.
not a person's
yeah,
choice. It's-
correct, yeah.
So there's no owner of the home live there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just, with all of the elements and the various angles and different directions and materials, I just think simplifying it somehow would really help and kind of bring some more balance to it. Yeah, I think, those items suggested would really help kind of calm things down and make it look a little more organized and intentional.
Yeah, and since you're cutting that vertical element in half anyway, not having such a big brick piece up on the second floor would maybe kind of bring the house down a little bit too, so it's wouldn't, because it's going to look tall no matter what.
So if you keep the brick and replace the wood headers with brick headers, that would maybe be one way to simplify.
Mhm.
Well, if that's, I'm not sure where the wood header came from specifically, but it just seems like that's one of the things that might simplify the materiality. Or the suggestion was that you lose the brick altogether or pull it down?
Maybe just not the second floor, make more of a base of brick somehow. I mean, that changes the way you've done this. The porch on the plan actually goes, it looks like it goes farther out to the side of the brick, whereas on the elevation, it's pulled
Mhm.
in more, but,
Yeah.
fix that up a little. And maybe, I don't know, do that a little bit differently so that it's. There's that.
No, I've been taking notes, so I appreciate.
Yeah,
Appreciate the
the-
feedback. No, I'm quiet because I'm trying to be organized on how I record some of this, so.
Yeah, and
I'm just reiterating a particular point, so.
I'm back to the porch column spacing. I'm just I'm sketching here something that you can maybe, if you could center the door and maybe make the window in the front room narrower, you can move and do 5 columns on the front porch that are symmetrical and let you hit the front door on axis and not jog the corner. And then the bathroom window would be split in half by the column, but that's just the bathroom window, which isn't,
It's still in the middle.
it's still in the middle. Right. So anyway.
And you can even, when you start looking at it, maybe even pull that left side of the porch all the way over to the corner of that brick element.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That might help as well.
Across, Instead of
and-
a little bit of.
Right.
Right, which is kind of what the plan shows anyway, to Angela's point. The plan shows it all the way over.
Almost. Yeah.
almost, yeah,
Mhm.
but it doesn't match the elevation currently.
Which side?
Right.
Over here.
Right,
on the
that's fine.
front.
Got it.
It's, you know, it's way over here.
Okay, how you notice that before I drew it, so.
Yeah, so it's because that's I noticed in plain.
Yeah, yeah.
And did Tracy, you mentioned the overhang too, right?
Yeah, I noticed the front overhang, the gable at the brick was kind of set back more. It's not a consistent overhang throughout. For whatever reason, that front gable doesn't extend out the foot or whatever your overhang is.
Right, yeah, we had a detail that we had been given that was appealing to the client, that
Yeah, I kind of
had a minimal
can picture that kind of look. that they
masonry
probably-
piece to it, or masonry overhang. So we were stitching together a lot of different images.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
So
think,
I'm smiling on the inside of it, some of the feedback, because
Yeah.
it's not new.
and I also had a comment on the garage placement. I was wondering if it might be more functional if you just drive in through the driveway and just go straight into the garage instead of having to turn. I know Webster requires 22 feet backup and it looks like we're just getting that. So it might be better to drive in straight and then have a little apron come out so you can back out and then drive down the driveway. And then you get a view into your garage too from the house. In case you leave your garage door open, you'll be able to see it.
Yes, we had a debate about, that creates a long rectangular shaped backyard versus a square backyard. So that was what was driving that choice, but I don't disagree with the comment, Tracy. Okay.
Is the window in the garage supposed to, the head is like up above the door? Is it supposed to be like that or? No, I guess
Oh, I see it.
I guess the house is like that too.
Yeah, that was a comment I had about the opening head height being the same between doors and windows.
Yeah. Usually there's well, it's a little bit of an awkward difference, I guess, for a transom or something. Since there's only one window and one door on the garage, I'd at least line those up.
Yeah. So we'll go back to the drawing board. Is there a recording that I took notes? Is there any,
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
YouTube.
well, okay, okay.
Yeah.
We can go back and watch it. Got it.
Yeah. Relive.
I was actually talking about, I didn't know if there was minutes to come back with comments.
Yeah, Jim, I think is pretty good about.
Okay.
Sending those out.
Yeah, so, since it's new construction, I think we would just table this vote this evening, and then you can take some of those comments and make adjustments with your client and then resubmit.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. That
sounds good. So with that, we'll move on to the next one.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nathan. 315 West Jackson Road.
Hello, Katie Neeson Cook.
Hello, welcome. Right, I think there was a comment about.
Oh, yeah, I just had a comment on the
had a
shed.
question or a
front
comment.
Mhm.
Just, it's a very small little piece and I felt like there's a lot going on in that little element.
Yeah, I know we were kind of playing off the fact that most of the time that we have a roof plane towards the front, there's a break in it, either the chimney or the dormer. So we were kind of playing off that. And it looked really plain when we just went took it straight across as a
Oh,
gutter.
really?
So that, we were trying to get a little bit of interest on it and tie into the existing.
Mhm.
Trying to think if there's a way to simplify it, while still, because I know the
Yeah,
client
it's-
likes the pop-up, so
Okay.
that's my other.
And it might just be my own take on it. I don't know if anybody else had any comments on that piece. For some reason, that just looked like a little
Which
too
area is this?
cutesy, too much.
This, to make this little, it does sort of make this little
Oh.
tiny portion kind of dramatic for what it is, I guess is almost what I feel, like, it's not that you really don't want people to look at it in a sense, you could say, right? But that makes it so you're gonna look at it.
Yeah, I mean,
But I don't know.
we were trying to kind of pull
Yeah,
elements from across the entire
yeah.
front.
I think it
So.
would, I mean, I don't know, it could be an option of, you could have it either way. I guess I personally would probably prefer it a little simplified, but
Okay.
it's not.
I can look at it and talk with my client and see what they want to do anything different.
Is there a, I'm looking at the plan and seeing that the shed is set back from the front of the garage bump out
A little bit, yeah.
a little bit, like 6 feet, 7 feet. But I'm wondering if, would you pull both of them into alignment and make sort of like a gatehouse type thing where both sides are symmetrical, maybe?
Mm, Fancy.
Get a large
I mean,
shed.
I'm just, that's completely random thought, but
I know it aligns with the bump out at the far end on the other side
Hmm.
that has the like little sunroom, and
okay, I see it with
so
the three.
it's aligned with the house,
Yeah.
but not with the garage.
Got it.
Right.
I feel like I don't, for some reason, I don't read it that way. I mean, I know it is, but it feels like that piece is with that stuff.
Yeah, no,
And
I
think it might
understand.
just be graphically too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's shown as new construction, maybe that's why I'm.
they're far apart,
Mhm.
Yeah, they're
right?
far
It's
apart.
this one's way
Big
over here,
house.
like this corner compared to that corner,
Yeah.
our side.
Like I'm almost thinking of like the gated entries at Portland Place or whatnot with,
Right.
something like that.
Mhm.
If that's what you want on West Jackson, or East Jackson.
Right now, the house is way over to one side of the lot, so
Yeah.
some of this is actually balancing the overall built area on the lot, so.
Yeah.
All right, and then there was another comment, I think Carol, what the gable infill.
Yeah, this is just a suggestion, seeing how you'd feel about it on the covered porch where you have the open timber at the gables,
Mhm.
that area above the open timber. I was thinking like going to a hardy, smooth type material
Okay,
would look more like half timber construction. And then Tracy also mentioned it would probably be easier to build than cutting all that siding.
I think that's fine.
That's my only suggestion.
I think we can make that change.
Okay.
Right, I think those were the comments, and so the gable infill change and then the option to look at the shed pop up.
Okay, so I didn't quite get where the conversation about the shed simplification was left. Did we have anything specific there or?
No,
what?
I think it was a question of whether it popped up or not, and I think the board would be okay with it the way it is, but if you wanted to review it with the client,
So it's just the pop-up that's in question, whether
Yeah.
to leave it up or bring it down?
yeah, I think it's approved as it is, but you'd have the option to,
Okay, I just wasn't quite sure where all that ended.
yep.
Okay.
Okay.
So with that, I have a motion.
Yep. I will make a motion on 315 West Jackson to approve as submitted with the following clarification. The rear elevation overhang, covered patio the area of the scissor truss will be changed from horizontal siding to flat panel siding material. And the applicant has the option to revise the roof, to simplify the roof on the front elevation shed building.
Second.
All in favor?
I
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? All right, you're approved as noted. Thank you. Last, we have 512 Webster Path Court. Anyone present?
I have one person on Zoom.
Hello?
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
I'm Anthony with Hogan Pools.
Hey, Anthony.
Welcome, Anthony.
How's it going? Thank you.
Is there a new deck on this one?
There is a new deck, but it's not by me, it's with another contractor. I'm just responsible for the pool that's going in. I believe the same contractor is doing the surrounding deck around the pool. So I'm really only responsible for the pool itself.
Okay. Well, typically the architectural review board would review the built vertical deck, but not the swimming pool itself.
Okay,
So I think the submittal, there's really nothing for this board to vote on with what's been given us tonight.
okay,
So I guess the comment would be for the owner, or the contractor that's doing the deck, is that's what the board will need to see. So if you could pass that information along to submit it to the city, then our
okay,
board could review that.
gotcha. What would I need to do to get the approval for the pool itself?
So that's through yeah, Jim.
Yeah, as long as their zoning review is confirmed, your drawings will now go into permit review, assuming these are construction documents you have here.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it'll go into permit review. And then you'll be
Okay.
notified.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
awesome. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Have a good evening.
You too.
All right, with that,
Or I'll take it.
we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.